Hui e ngā mate i a tātou e ngā hunga atuana kia puanga te whetū o te tau. Hui e te hunga ora ki ngā weawe o te whenua, hui e te kura pō i tu whauna ki te papa rei o te ihorangi eri ho nei ki e ka ao te hui. Kia ora and welcome back to the hui. He pēhea nei, tā tātou whakatere i te waka o te ao hangarau i aia nei. Ko ia rai nei tērā ko te hawaiki hou e kōrerohia whānuitia nei. Kia hatia, kia ate tiru ake tātou ki ngā kaupapa matua e matapaki hia ana i tēnei wā.
For generations, great navigators read the stars, mapped currents and gathered knowledge to cross vast frontiers. They did not just survive change, they shaped it. That same spirit has reached a new frontier. The destination has changed, but the purpose remains, exploring new horizons. Welcome to the rise of Māori tech. New Zealand's technology sector is a major economic driver, contributing $23.8 billion to GDP in 2024. Sitting right at the cutting edge of that ecosystem is a fast-growing network of 85 Māori-owned tech enterprises. The top 12 of these companies alone generate over $160 million in revenue. To understand this industry, there are three key focus areas: creative tech and IP, primary sector innovation, and enterprise software. Organisations face increasing challenges as they grow. Balancing innovation with Māori data sovereignty adds further pressure, requiring careful handling of data. As change accelerates, the challenge is not only to grow, but to do so with care, holding knowledge, identity and responsibility at the centre, while stepping confidently into what comes next.
So to discuss all of that, the challenges, the opportunities, the growing Māori tech sector, are three of the best, our technological experts. On our panel, our technology navigators. He is the founder of Straker AI, a tech company with global clientele at the forefront of language information technology. Grant Straker, tēnā koe. Welcome, Ahoa. Good to have you. She is GM of Tech Delivery at ANZ, leading large-scale technology systems. Megan Tapsell, tēnā koe. No way. And he needs no introduction to many of us, particularly those who grew up watching television in our time. He's the founder of Animation Research Limited, a pioneer of digital storytelling and indigenous narrative in tech. He is, of course, Sir Ian Taylor. E tā, tēnā koe. E aku rangatira tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you so much for being a part of our panel. There is so much to discuss. You've heard the numbers there. How much opportunity, Grant Straker, is out there at the moment and exists for Māori in the tech sector?
An enormous amount of opportunity, and I think the way to think about where we're at with AI, and as amazing as it is, and it's like living in the future that, you know, from the 70s or 80s, we're living in the future that was portrayed in sci-fi movies. If you think about it, it's like somebody's just invented electricity and they've just turned the light on and the light's flickering, you know, and they're like, oh, is this any good? Is this no good? That's where we're at. If you think about electricity, people were like, well, I've got my candles, do I need electricity? But say when something like the refrigerator came along, then the world changed, right? Because then if you were in New Zealand, you could actually export to the other side of the world. And we haven't reached that stage yet. So we're not at the refrigerator stage of electricity. We're at the lights still flickering on.
So you're saying we're still very primitive
at
this
absolutely
stage?
Primitive for what it can do.
Wow.
You know, we're at the convergence of two exponential technologies, robotics and a super intelligence, an AI. And that convergence has just happened, and the world's about to really take off. That's my view of where we're at. Yeah.
Megan, what are you seeing? Is it the same, or is it slightly different, particularly with Māori communities? Rangatahi Māori.
Look, Grant's not wrong. The opportunity is overwhelmingly positive in terms of where we're going. But there is a word of caution around how we approach that, and we need to be part of the journey in order to be part of the opportunity. When I reflect on what artificial intelligence is doing or could do, it could, if we reflect on our own history, there's a colonisation element there that we should reflect on around that opportunity and making sure that our rangatahi and that our leaders, our technology leaders are there leading for Māori at the front of where we're going. In terms of the opportunity though, we need to see ourselves reflected in the artificial intelligence. Just actually strengthening that in the analogy we've just heard, when TV came about, we were Māori at home, we listened to the radio. With TV coming along, we started to adopt Americanisms and we became more American in some of our approaches in the world than we were as our authentic Māori. So I think the opportunity is great. It is here. There's exponential growth out there. But we should eye this convergence with a lens for Māori to be at the helm of it. And if we're not, then the opportunity won't be great for us.
Surya and Taylor, you showed me some work before of young people who are right in this space now. Are we at the helm? Or is there a lot to do before we can be in that position?
No, I'm really optimistic. And I begin, with the Māori whakatauki, ko ngā tahu ao tapawai I nanihi, hei to ira ora mō a popo. The footsteps we laid down in the past create the paving stones upon which we stand today. And those footsteps in the Māori worldview are always in front of us. So, we talked about electricity. I was 7 when electricity arrived at our house. I still remember the light bulb lighting up. And for me, the most amazing lesson as I look out at those footsteps is I didn't need to know how the electricity got there. What I did know was it just changed everything. And I think the example of the refrigerated chip is really important. We became one of the richest companies in the world because we could export meat. But we got lost in the idea that it was the meat that made us rich. Well, actually, it was the technology that enabled us to build the first refrigerated ship that changed the way we gave. It created a refrigerated highway to the world. AI is about to change all of that. And I'm 76 now, in my 76 years, I have never seen anything that will make that change bigger than this.
I can feel Grant wanting to jump in.
Oh,
So
yeah,
by all means, go for it. Please, everyone go for it. Don't wait for me.
Look, Serena's 100% right. Like, this is a massive opportunity. And it's something that we should run hard at. Like, and we should have a culture of... Māori should end up being, the part of New Zealand society that leads this whole way, because it's a great equaliser. When you get technology like this, you don't have to go and study at law school to be able to solve legal problems. It's cut down the barriers to starting companies. So now it's significantly easier to start and run and get all of the associated components you need to run a company. So if you're young, what you need is the idea. You need to master the tools. So you really need to be deep in it. And if you've got the idea, you master the tools, and then Māori as a whole create an environment, where there's good ideas, meet good capital, meet good channels to market, then we will thrive.
Okay. And I hear a lot about that opportunity, and I do want to touch on a couple of things later on about how we leverage that.
Yeah.
The concern that I heard in the cautionary tale that you were talking about, Megan, before, and one of them is being felt right now, is that with the impact of AI, we are starting to lose jobs. And when the world sneezes, New Zealand feels the cold. And when New Zealand feels the cold, Māori lose jobs. How do we deal with that?
Look, that's really challenging. And if I just put a commercial lens from a corporate, what we've seen in terms of technologists themselves, we are seeing the approach to using resources globally and the big centres. We're talking about the opportunity in India. So the use of resources elsewhere, I think technology has opened up the world to us, and in opening up the world, it transforms specifically from a technology perspective, the ability for us to reach wider. And there is richness and greatness in that because we don't know it all, and so we're leveraging into ideas and opportunities there. For us as Māori, I guess we need to think differently around our approach with the tech. If we can't be using the tech or developing the tech, then if we can't be developing the tech, then we need to think about how we use it and approach it from a business perspective. So what I just heard Grant say was have the idea and create a business out that side of it. So I think there is definitely a lens there. Technology is wide, and delivering technology is huge. You don't just need to be the technologist. However, the kind of technology we deliver needs to be usable. It needs to be part of our tikanga, part of our processes, part part of ensuring that it's meeting Māori demands and needs, and at the end of all of that we need a social equity that's going to deliver to Māori as well. It's not about the individual success, it's about our greater Māori community success, and I think that's, as long as we're delivering technology like that outside of Aotearoa, that's great for us all. Then there's also the receiving of technology into Aotearoa. So there's a lens here where we need to think about the kind of control. These two guys to the side of me might have a very different view, but we need to think about the safety protocols for Māori in the greater sense of the world.
Okay, when we come back after the break, I'm going to start with Sir Ian Taylor because he's itching to jump straight in. There's another things that he wants to talk about, particularly around training and curriculum, as well as in induction and also internships with Grant. We'll talk about that after the break. E harea kene, e te iwi, he kōrero no. I tā tātou tāpui tāmaka, our technology experts are next on The Hui. Oki mai ki tā tātou hui me ngā tohunga, me ngā mātanga o te ao hangarau. We have Sir Ian Taylor, Megan Tapsell and Grant Straker with us here today. Sir Ian, I want to talk about opportunity and how we leverage the opportunity to lead in this space, not just to actively participate or even advocate or even be first adopters or adapters, but to lead. Does that exist and how can we leverage that?
Yeah, I'm really optimistic because we've got to remember that I always like to tell the story that Steve Jobs, he didn't realise it when he invented the touchscreen, that he invented it for us. I mean, for all of those years, we were storytellers.
You mean for us Māori?
For us Māori.
No, okay, kōrero mai, how?
Okay, we were storytellers. We didn't have the written word. We spoke. We had the arts, we had culture. Suddenly he hands us the screen, which we tutu with our heads. We start to do this, we start to do that. Well, AI has just taken that to another level because some of the wisdom I got when I was growing up was sitting at the knees of my aunties. Mm-hmm. It was the talk, it was this. So the question, no, not the question, the opportunity is now that machines can answer almost any question, we need to be teaching our rangatahi how to ask better ones. And if we do that and take that approach to AI, we will lead the world. Because we only started writing 250 years ago when Captain Cook turned up. We don't need to now, you know. Alexander the Great sat at the footsteps of Archimedes and they talked. Why did we get to writing? Well, that's the only way you could spread the word. But now AI has given us the ability, and I think it's been designed for Māori. We talk, we communicate, we listen, we tell stories. Now this thing sits and does it, and we've got to learn and teach our kids. You have an advantage over everyone else. Now ask the right questions.
So we have the competitive advantage to tell those stories, right?
Totally.
But what about the access to the ability to be able to turn that into the technological outcome that we require? Does that exist?
It's sitting there right now. It's just sitting there.
But it is sitting there, but we do need to change the framework. So I got a lot of wisdom from my aunties from their jandals. But I think that the technology does exist. So what we've got to do is we've got to make it accessible. And by that I mean, if you look at inference, so you look at AI, the brain of AI and the cost of that. Right now, that's an expensive cost. Like, it's hard. You could have an idea, but to put that into something useful to build your app, you've got to pay for this inference cost, this AI cost. So if we could make that type of thing available to rangatahi and enable them to have those tools, then they can build all sorts of things. So I think that there is an enablement factor of getting this latest AI and how we can do that. And that's for New Zealand as a whole and the government as a whole to think about how do we enable everybody to access these tools. So I think that's one thing. And then we're at a stage where you can self-educate yourself in a way that's never been possible before. So we've got to change the culture to people thinking about how to do it. If you think about sports, somebody might want to be in the Warriors or All Blacks or whatever, and they'll sit and they'll go on the field and they'll try and kick a goal for hours and hours. We've got to enable people to be able to know that they can sit there, learn, and use this AI to teach themselves. And I think that that's the type of thing we've got to start to enable with the young.
Yeah, one of the things I always hear in this space, Megan, is that we've also got to have control of data. Māori talk about data sovereignty. Māori leaders also are really active in the Māori data sovereignty space. Is data sovereignty and their inability to have that an inhibitor? Is it a real thing? Or is Māori data sovereignty really important in this space, do you think?
It depends on the definition of Māori data here. At a principle level, having control over our Māori data is really important. I mean, we don't need to look back too far to be aware that when people have data and they're making decisions about you, they're making it from their point of view. So data is the foundation to AI, it's a foundation to the stories that we tell, and it's foundational to the decisions that we make as leaders. Now, if someone's using my data to make a decision, I want them to make it so that I get the right outcome or a good outcome. And I think that's what Māori are asking for at a really high level. If you're using our data, let's use it for the greater good for Māori. So it is important for us, and there are also some elements of Māori data that we may not want to go into an AI system. Some of our whakapapa, some of our learnings, they belong to us. Yet we are widely sharing this in social media and channels, so some of the opportunity may already be lost. But there's a line there that we need to be really clear of. The flip side of this is that if we want to use the tools, if we want to tell the stories, our data needs to be part of the story as well. So there's a risk overlay that's really important. It's important for around how we adopt and use AI, and it's important around how we choose to use our data within these platforms. What is not acceptable is the unapproved, or when people use our data without consent to drive outcomes that won't
the
support
intrinsic
Māoridom.
ubiquity of it, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So there's a line there that we need to be
I think
aware
it
of.
comes down to, like a lot of that data sovereignty, I think it comes down to, like if it produces a good outcome. So if you get all of this data out there, and I don't know, somebody makes a great story, or they
Health
tell
is a great example.
exactly right, then it works. The trick is who monetises that. That's what we need to be careful of. If it's good, that's great. But if it just goes to a big corporate in America and doesn't come back into the community, then that's a bad outcome.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is really important here, Serena, is training, teaching, curriculum.
That's why the way we solve that is we lead this world. You know, we tell the stories. We, Māori, do those stories. See, one of the interesting things is I try not to talk about AI at all. I talk about technology. It is just another technology, an amazing technology, but everybody's eyes glaze over when you go AI and you get this thing. So the other thing about it is only humans would call it artificial. You know, there's nothing artificial about it. But I heard a Māori the other day said it's ancestral intelligence. We should embrace it as ancestral intelligence because it's everything.
So how important then is the ability to be able to train? You know, the curriculum that exists at the moment, what needs to change for that to occur?
The change is there now. Okay. It's just an attitude. So I just want to share a little story of my moko at 4.5 years old. Loves reading books. I've got this video of him, his father got him, they sat down and he writes a book with his writing colleague. And the two of them sit there and they write this amazing story about a robot coming from outer space. And then it prints it as a book. And he reads it to his 3.5-year-old sister. But what really blew me away was when we asked it to do it in te reo. At 4.5, his co-writer, not even going to use AI, the co-writer said, well, Franco, what I've got to tell you is there's no Māori word for robot, but here are 5 options. Here's what each one means. Which one do you think works? And at 4.5, he's looking at that. That's 4.5. So don't think about it not happening. It's on fire and moving. We have to embrace it.
Okay, Serena has very uniquely but also done really well the bit I was going to do, which is segue us into rangatahi, but also capital injection. What capital is required to be able to make this all develop and work? We're going to be talking about that after this with our panel of experts. Ki te tonu mai. Kia ora, mai anō. The panel's freaking out because we've just done 16 minutes. They're like, wait, that was really quick, and I've got so much to say, so we're going to get into it. Grant Straker, Megan Tapsell, and Ian Taylor are with me now. Okay, capital. Does the capital exist for us to be the developers and the leaders, or does the capital exist for us to leverage the opportunities, or do we need more, and if so, where?
So the capital exists. Is it existing in the right places? No. Look, there's a great book called Why Nations Fail, and it shows why nations succeed, right? And that book says, you know, good ideas meet good capital, meet good channels to market. And it's what you call good capital because it gets recycled back into the same circle, as opposed to bad capital where you get capital early on, but it's overseas capital and it disappears. So the best capital you can have coming into Māori is Māori and Māori capital and government capital. So I'm on the board of NZGCP, which is the New Zealand Capital Growth Fund. It's a $1 billion investment fund, a government fund. And there's real intent there. Like they've really tried to figure out how to get more Māori iwi capital into funds. So I think that we need something like that. I'm happy to lead that, to find some iwis that are keen to invest, and then we can find some partners who can drive the capital. Because there are plenty of great ideas. So if we can get enough capital, and you need a fund of a certain size to make that happen. It can't be too small, it's got to be the right size. So obviously riskier capital, but with massive outsized returns. So I think that's what we need. And then you need the right environment. So then with the right capital, you can figure out what do we need and what do we need more eyes. Is there something we can do in our primary services? Can we solve something with robotic fisheries or whatever it is? So I'll just pause there because there's plenty of...
no, I can see nodding heads though.
Yeah. So that's the really exciting thing, I think, if we can get it,
Megan?
No, we can't move forward without capital, and I think Grant's idea of a Māori view as opposed to an iwi-orientated view would be the right outcome for us in order
supported
to
by iwi though, invested by iwi, do you think?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I had the opportunity to be part of a panel that reviewed the AI opportunity under the government's new initiative, which is investing 70 million back into AI tech to create an AI platform for Aotearoa. 70 million's not enough over the 10-year time frame that they're looking at. But this idea of creating an AI platform, a centre of gravity here to leverage and propel ourselves forward on, you know, Māori need to be part of something like that and have a centre, take up the opportunity here to push ourselves forward. It's an important part of it.
I saw your head nodding too.
It'll happen faster than 10 years. That's the thing. I think these government things are too slow. I think I want to move from technology to what the opportunity are. We keep talking about AI, but actually, and that's what this was about, but actually as a country, we now have to be looking at what technology does to put us back as one of the leading countries in the world. And to do that, we need to look at the whenua. The whenua is not going away. Pāho has answers to climate change and sustainability, and the best way to attract investment is to have a deal that is economically sound. Okay. So if we look very quickly at things like bioforestry, worth between $19 and $30 billion a year, we leave it lying on the ground. We look at supercritical geothermal, we look at agri-tech, and AI is one of the technologies, not the only one, that will help us in there. But I think from a Māori perspective, we should go back to Pāho, look at what she has already given us that we have ignored, and that technology is now allowing us to work with her to make us rich again.
Māori-led values, Māori-led outcomes, right? Kapai. What's something that's really getting you excited at the moment, not just at Straker AI, but for Grant Straker to wake up with in the morning?
Oh, look, I just find like I'm living in my sci-fi future from the 70s. I said it before, like you wake up and you just... so I've gone back on the tools. Like, you know, I've been on the tools like coding or developing for 20 years, and it's just so exciting. Yeah. And it just opens up your eyes to all of the things that you can build so quickly and solve problems. And you still got to build a company or to build something, you still need to have these, work through a process. But I think it's just opened us up that you can solve so many problems. You can just look at anything, walk past anywhere and go, right, if I had AI and some robotics, I could build something, whereas before you couldn't. So it's got me really excited about, if you're a builder, be an engineer.
You see, Ponsonby Rugby, no easy ponies, didn't answer the question specifically, but still gave it
right. I didn't. There's too much. There's too much.
At a really basic level, the technology, I have a vacuum cleaner that cleans my house before I get up in the morning. I just love the ability to ease your life around certain things so that you can focus on other things that might be more important to you at that moment in time.
Yeah.
Real simple, but a great outcome with the use of AI tech. More broadly, I may have started this conversation with we need an eye of caution, but the opportunity for those who are curious, the opportunity to build businesses without needing that deep capability, it's just fantastic.
Julian?
Curious is what I will close with. So the most exciting thing for me at the moment is what we're doing with education. So what you do again, you put what's the technology that's available. I looked at our education system and you realise the way to solve it is to deal with three things. You've got to value teachers' time, you've got to inspire curiosity, and education should be free for everyone. Now, a year ago, we couldn't have even contemplated this. The new platforms that this new technology has given us will mean that at the start of next year, we will roll out a platform that will be free to every school in New Zealand and the Pacific Islands, and it will do those three things. And I think that is one of the most exciting things because we have to be thinking intergenerationally, and if we start this in our schools, we've got no idea what those kids are going to do before they get to secondary school.
I've got it, I know everyone wants to go again, but I just wanted to say, I want to thank you all, not just for being a part of the panel, but thank you for the inspiration, because I've got the hand on the heart now going, geez, I need to do some real work now.
Yeah.
I think there's lots of opportunity.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Serena and I are both aligned on this, is that we've both got self-driving Teslas. And that gets me excited. It does. It drives it for me. So that's the future.
Well, my issue is access to capital, but anyway.
I'm just going to close. If you want to think about the future, my 4.5-year-old moko is the one who said, Koro, you need self-drive in your car. He got in the car and loaded it to the car.
Okay.
Put it in.
Yeah, see, this is starting to freak me out now. But anyway, e ako rangatira tēnā koutou to Grant Straker, Megan Tapsell, Julian Taylor, tēnā koutou. Thank you so much very much for your time. That is us for this week on The Hui. Next week we have more from Te Ao Māori for you. Kia mau ki te turanga o Taputapu Ate o Hawaii ki hou, haumi e, hui e, taiki e.
Nā te puna whakatongarewa, te hui, i tautoko.